No equity investor can afford to ignore the macro picture anymore. Hedge fund manager Stevie Cohen said as much in Las Vegas last week, and our next guest feels the same way. Virginie Maisonneuve is head of global and international equities at Schroders in London, where she helps oversee $17 billion. She's also lead manager of the International Alpha Fund, whose returns over the past year beat 90% of its peers. Virginie calls herself a bottom-up stock picker, but she's also wary of market volatility from commodities inflation and political developments. Virginie is right here on the Inside Track. Virginie, welcome. I know you are all about stock-by-stock fundamentals, but I have to ask you, based on what you see right now, are equities going to end the year higher or lower from where they are today?
I think we're going to be in a range-band pattern. Markets are going to go from fear of inflation led by the strength of emerging market demand through commodity prices, metals, soft, etc., to is that super cycle, which is what I call super cycle, going to slow down the global economy, mostly the developed world, and therefore a fear sort of stagflation. And I think we're going to be in that range, but that's going to offer a lot of volatility and fantastic stock picking because we can find, the stocks we like at a very attractive price in that environment.
So you see that disparity playing out, that the emerging markets will continue, the super cycle will evolve, the emerging markets will continue to grow and as a result confront some inflationary problems while the developed markets will stagnate. Broadly speaking, then, in which countries, specific regions, or industries do you see the greatest opportunities?
Yeah, I still like industrials a lot. I like industrials globally. I think the next 10 years are definitely more about industrial investment, particularly in the developed world, as opposed to the consumer, which is still deleveraging. I like the emerging market consumer, clearly, and I like climate change related, productivity enhancement related companies who are going to help us consume more energy and commodities in a much more efficient way. So even if you think of companies like Schneider, also thinking of companies in the gas area, for example, which is much more efficient and less CO2 emitting, all those companies offer very strong opportunities.
How do IPOs fit into your strategy? Today, for example, we see Glencore trading up in London, LinkedIn price last night. Did you buy either?
No, I did not. I look at IPOs. In the case of Glencore, I own Xstrata in the portfolio, 9 times PE plus 30% growth.
Glencore owns a third of Xstrata.
That's right, it does. And I thought Glencore was actually quite rich. I also like owning the assets as opposed to trading, which is what Glencore mostly does. And although I know that participation in the benchmarks, etc., will probably help the stock short term, I actually think that down the line, with a 34% stake, Glencore might make an offer for Xstrata.
What about technology? A couple of your funds hold Microsoft as one of its biggest holdings, if not the biggest, and you also have some Cisco shares. Both companies have had some growth trouble as of late. Microsoft making a big bet on Skype in the hope that it can get back into the smartphone game.
Cisco has actually been sold of the portfolio quite a while ago. In technology, what I like is companies like Checkpoint in particular. I think Microsoft is very, very cheap for the trend growth that it has. I think everybody is very negative on the stock, and I always like to have in the portfolio some of those where expectations is very low. But in terms, if you think of digital or cyber war, I like the protection aspect that Checkpoint is giving. I also like Baidu in China, internet company. It's done extremely well, but it offers over 30% growth rate. And I think, the growth there is going to continue to be very strong.
Virginie, thank you so much for joining us right here on the Inside Track. A pleasure to have you. Virginie Maisonneuve, she is head of global and international equities at Schroder Investment Management here from London in New York.